to create social media content that will work for you and your clients. We have a special guest with us, Gavin. I think before we start, just know, hear me okay. Speak quick and you can let us know that you can hear him in the chat and we'll get started soon.
Hey everybody, can you hear me?
Okay. Gavin, do you have headphones or something maybe? I think people were saying it was echoing a little.
Ian says it's fine now.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Okay, thanks everyone. So we will we'll kick things off in a couple minutes. Let's just give it another minute or two to let those people that are maybe still joining, we'll let them get joined, get attached to the webinar. Maybe let us know in the chat box before we kick things off. Have you been on one of these webinars with Promo Republic before, or whether this is your first time? And let us know if you're a current customer of Promo Republic or not as well. That'd be really cool, and then we can get to know each other a little bit better. I know I can see a lot of familiar faces of people who are often on these webinars as well. So welcome back to everybody who's been here before. Awesome. Cool. So hi to Lynn, Vanessa, Keith, Ian, Justin, Helen. Looks like we have a good mix of people who are here for the first time and who are here, have been here before as well. Okay, so Vanessa's from Paris in France. That's really cool. Often most of the people that join these webinars, Vanessa, are in North America. So it's great that you're in Paris in France. I am from Tallinn in Estonia today. Gavin's joining us. Gavin, are you in Edinburgh today?
Sunny Edinburgh, yep.
There we go.
When I say sunny, I mean cold and cloudy.
Yeah, right. Oh look, we have another Edinburgh. We have Will.
Nice. You will.
Cool. Okay, so I think we'll kick things off. Today's webinar, this is the first time we are going to have a co-host or like a special guest with us. So I'm really excited about this one. It's going to be different structure to previous webinars, and I think it's going to be really cool. I think you guys are going to enjoy this one a lot. So today we're going to be talking about some ways that you can create better content for yourself and for your clients. And Gavin is going to share some of his incredible story with us as well. We'll get into that shortly. We'll talk about the best approaches to social media content creation and distribution, and then at the end of the webinar, we will do a live Q&A session as well. So first of all, I will introduce myself for anyone who hasn't been on one of these before. So this webinar, I think this is about the 20th webinar we've actually done in this series now. We used to do them every single week. Now we do them twice a month. And this is part of the Promo Republic Agency and Freelancer Academy series. I don't know, Promo Republic in the end of last year released a kind of special version of their platform specifically for agency owners and freelancers. And part of the strategy behind that launch and like ongoing support of the community is to provide you guys with as much free value as possible. So we did a online summit in January. We do these webinar series. We have like blog posts and guides for you, interviews, etc. And my name is Dylan. I usually kind of head up the webinar portion of the Agency and Freelancer Academy. You might see me in the Academy Facebook group sometimes as well. And I actually own an agency myself. So I don't necessarily work exactly for Promo Republic. I support them with this, but I actually own my own agency. So I quit my job working for a SaaS startup in May of last year. And since then, I've been building out an agency that works specifically with SaaS companies, helping them with their paid ads and their paid acquisition. I have a podcast as well about social media, and it's called the Social Media Growth Show, and some other cool stuff. But I think today I don't want to just talk all about me. I want to let our guest introduce himself as well. So Gavin, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so thanks for Dylan. I'm excited to be here. Excited that we've got fellow Edinburgh people and people from all over the world here. Bermuda, Paris, Canada, North Carolina. That's awesome. A little bit about myself. So, like Dylan, I'm an agency owner. So I've been in the Facebook advertising space now for the last 3 or 4 years. I basically decided to after having a business that worked with personal trainers about 4 years ago, I was running that business. I found that personal trainers were typically terrible at marketing themselves, and decided that I could go into that space and start helping them with their marketing, helping them with their social, creating content, and so decided to launch the agency that I now run. And we no longer work with personal trainers per se, work with brands and businesses of all shapes and sizes. Um, Yesterday we were working with a fashion brand. We work with a couple of football teams or soccer teams, I should say, um, and we help them with their ads and driving return on investment through Facebook ads. So trying to help them build their audience, engage with their audience better, and guide their audience into purchasing with them. Also, as part of that, Justin says, sound's gone out.
I can hear you fine. Gavin. I think it
You
might
can hear
just
me?
be,
Cool.
yeah, it might just be Justin's.
As I kind of decided to start the agency, one of the main things that I wanted to do was to push and build my personal brand. And one of the ways that I saw that lots of people were doing in the space was video. And I knew that I needed to start creating video and wanted to start creating video content. And I think it was 2 or 3 years ago I decided to start creating video and start putting it out there into the world. And that has kind of slowly become one of the main drivers of my business and one of the main things that I now speak about, which I guess puts me on to that kind of final bullet point, which is I'm a keynote speaker. So I speak at on stages across the world. The last one I spoke at was 2 weeks ago. Spoke at VidCon here in London, and yeah, speaker, video creator, agency owner. I do a lot of fun stuff, and that's the kind of main thing for me. If it's fun and helps to build the brand, help to build the business, then I am all over that, and hopefully I can share some wisdom and things that I've learned along the way with you guys today.
Awesome. Thanks, Gavin. So I just wanted to check because Justin said he was having problems hearing you, but I can hear everything fine. So okay, Val can hear you fine. Okay, cool. We're good. So yeah, thanks for the intro. Thanks for joining us. So Gavin and I man, I think it's maybe been a couple years since we first connected, and I remember I think it was because I can't even remember how it came about. I remember something related to Gary Vee. I think maybe you were at an event of his, or I was at an event of his, or we saw something on Twitter or something like that, and we connected. And it's been really cool, like following your journey over the last few years and seeing how your personal brand has like grown and how it's impacted your business. I'm sure you might be talking about this a little bit later on today, but I think something that'll be really interesting for people to know as well is like, so your personal brand has been huge for you in everything that you've been doing from what I see anyway. Like, how much of an effect does that have on your business? Like, do you think a lot of your clients are coming from the kind of video content that you're doing, the speaking events that you're doing, etc.? Like, how much of an impact has your personal brand had on the business over the last couple of years?
Yeah, to be honest, it's been 100% of the business. Like,
Okay.
to give a bit of context to everyone, when I first launched the business back for however many years ago, I named the company Blue Cliff Media, and I thought because of just what everyone else did, you had to have an agency name, you had to have your own name, and you had to kind of manage these two brands. And one of the things that I found from that, or one of the things that I felt there was friction was because I was putting so much content out there as myself. As a consumer, I don't like engaging a huge amount with brands. So I don't follow logos on Twitter, for example. I only really like I'd rather follow the MD of a company rather than the company itself. And this was some as my consumer behavior as I was looking at that, and I was looking at kind of how I marketed myself online. I was going, well, why am I putting myself out there as a logo when that goes against what I like to do? And also, part of that was I didn't want to manage two social media accounts rather than just one. And so I took the kind of conscious decision to get rid of all the kind of Blue Cliff Media social media accounts out there and just focus on purely myself and built the website, Mr. Gavin Bell, and all my social media handles are that. And when I speak on stages, when people see my videos for the first time, I feel like there's no more friction anymore in terms of going, okay, here's a video, it's all me, it's coming from the YouTube channel Gavin Bell, but now I'm pushing you towards like an agency. I feel like it's a much more congruent journey for people to, when they first see me, to working with me is a more congruent journey, and that was one of the reasons that I decided to kind of scrap that agency side of things. So the personal brand is like 100% the main driver of the business. It's where all the business comes in, and whether that's for speaking gigs or whether that's for agency clients or consulting or coaching, it's all through my name. Now, one of the things that we're looking at doing now is because business is continuing to grow the agency side of things and we're starting to bring people on to manage client accounts, we are looking at just rebranding the agency side of things slightly. So there will be an agency name that is apparent and it's not just Gavin Bell, because I don't want clients thinking they get me all the time. It'll be people that work for me. So we are doing a little bit of a rebrand there, but it's everything will still come through my Mr. Gavin Bell website. There'll just be a section of that that's kind of for the agency. So yeah, to answer your question, 100% of the business, whether it's speaking or agency clients, comes through my personal brand.
That's awesome. That's so cool to hear because like I'm always preaching about personal branding and how important it can be. I'd love to hear from anyone that's tuned in today. How many of you guys and girls are utilizing your own personal brand to drive business for your agency, for your freelancer business? I think it'd be really cool to see the split because I have a feeling most people are going to say they're probably not, and I think that would lead. Like, I think it'd be really interesting once we see people's answers. It'll be cool to see you kind of explain your evolution, Gavin, as like a video creator and a content creator, and how it's changed. And also, like, I know we're going to talk about some of your different strategies and different styles of videos that you've put out there over the years. But it would also be really cool because I think a lot of the stuff that you're going to talk about and I'm going to talk about later on in this webinar today can be tied into like your personal branding, but also like some of these tactics and ideas that we're sharing, like they're going to work for people's agency clients as well, right? Like, of course, we talk a lot about personal branding and how we love to listen to the founders of the business or like real people rather than brands and logos. But I think a lot of the strategies that we'll talk about can also have a big impact for businesses too, if you're like running social media accounts for clients, etc., right?
100%, 100%. Like, I mean, I'm going to talk about my story in a second, but one of the reasons that this story came about is because I wanted to treat myself like an agency client, to use myself as a case study. So everything we're going to talk about, although it works for personal brands, it works for your business brand, it works for your client's brand, it works for any brand going out there marketing online.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. So let's just take a look at a couple of the comments. So Jenny has asked if this webinar will be recorded. So Jenny, yep, it will. There will be a recording sent out to everybody. But I'd really encourage you, if you can, to stick around because we're going to do like some live Q&A at the end as well. And I like to make sure these webinars are nice and interactive. So if you can, stick around. So Becky said that it can be tricky to balance the kind of personal and business brand. And Vanessa has said that she doesn't do any personal branding because she simply doesn't have time. So Gavin, maybe we can like get into your story because I know that some of the stuff you're going to talk about is gonna like I think will give some people some answers around like how they can find that balance and how they can find the time to do this and why they should find the time to do this as well.
Yeah, totally. Let's dive in. One thing I would say is with the argument of no time. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be some people that struggle with time, but I don't think any of this has to take a huge amount of time. And I'll kind of share my story like when I get started. But before I get into my story, a perfect example of someone that has built an enormous business and massive personal brand without taking a huge amount of time is Joe Wicks. Now, I don't have any slides or anything to show Joe Wicks' story, but I urge anyone to go and look at the story of Joe Wicks, the body coach. Is you just type in the body coach on Google. It's a guy that built a multi-million-pound business purely from creating 15-second videos showing you how to make 15-minute meals. And he's got millions of followers, a multi-million-pound business, 4 books, TV deal, all from that short 15-second Instagram video. So go check him out. He's an incredible example, and I wanted to share that because one of the biggest objections I hear to building a personal brand, creating video, creating content is I don't have the time. And I think, and let me type that in.
Yeah, and I think that's a like there are also, so Joe Wicks is an awesome example, but then also there are like the argument to I don't have time. Like I hear this one a lot too. But there are so many ways that you can still focus on your personal brand without it having to take a ton of time. Like if you plan properly and you dedicate some focus time to it, you can get a lot done. But then also like so many people here that are running agencies or freelancer businesses, like I'm sure you leverage other people's time and skills to help you with your client delivery, and there's nothing stopping you doing that with your personal brand too. It's like, Gavin, I know you have someone who helps you out with your video now, right? And I recently hired someone to edit all of my videos that go out on my YouTube channels and stuff like that. And there are ways that you can find people to support you in this where it like you can free up your time.
100%. I think one of the main things about time, when you really dive into it, is the fact that it's not a case of it's not having the time, because we all have the same amount of time in the day. It's priorities. It's Are you
Exactly.
prioritizing this stuff? So for people that are creating a lot of content, it's because they're prioritizing that as maybe their number one thing that they want to get out of their day or their week. But I totally get it. It's hard to start. It's hard to get into it and to make it a priority. But let me share a little bit about my story, because I know Vanessa's just asked what equipment do I use. So this will probably give a bit of context to my story then. So going back a few years, like I said, when I first had the business and made that conscious decision that I wanted to grow my personal brand, I knew that video was one of the best ways to do it. I was looking up to people in the space, the marketing space, just all the big name entrepreneurs out there, and speaking to mentors, and everyone was telling me like you need to get into this video game. And I was seeing statistics that were like 80% of online internet traffic is going to be video based, and all these things and signs were pushing me and saying, Gav, you need to create video. But there was something holding me back. And that thing that was holding me back, I can quite honestly say, was that I was scared. I was I probably had all the objections under the sun. I don't have the right equipment. I don't have a good personality. I don't know where to start. I don't have the time. That's things that I said, but in reality, what was happening was I was scared. I was so scared that this was the first ever video that I posted online on YouTube and Facebook, and I think it was 2 or 3 years ago now. And as you can see, I'm stood in a forest. The background is like, if you look at the horizon, it's that complete slant. I look a bit awkward. If you watch the video, I sound awkward. Everything about the video is just horrible and awkward. But the reason I went into that forest that day was because I was so scared. I just didn't want anyone to see me. And I used the forest and I used the trees as a way to protect me from being seen from people. But we all have our own versions of the forest, the trees, our comfort zones, because we don't like being seen doing these things, these kind of like putting yourself out there into the world. And for me, it's really cringy, but for me, it's part of the story. It's part of the journey. It's kind of where I started. And that day in the forest, I used my phone and like a £10 eBay tripod to create that video. But the key thing about this is that I started, and I got over that initial fear and posted it. And I worked myself up for months about getting these videos online. This was a video about how to grow your Twitter. That was the title of it. And when I ask people why they think I was in the trees, they always say the Twitter bird, but I'm not that smart. I'm not that smart. It's just I was scared. But I posted the video and nothing happened at all. I was expecting comments, likes, views, shares, all these great things, but nothing happened at all. So I said to myself, right, I need to get better at creating video. I need to try and learn this craft. And it was about the same time I came across this quote here by Garrett White, which is, no matter what you do, in the beginning, it's going to suck because you suck. but you'll get better and you'll suck less. And as you keep doing this, eventually you'll suck so little, you'll actually be good. So I was like, right, okay, I need to start to get better at this video thing. I need to go all in. And I decided that I was going to do a 100 vlogs in 100 days challenge, where I picked up my phone every single day for 100 days and started to talk about something that was on my mind. And if anyone here wants to get into creating video content and knows they need to do it, but isn't sure what to create about and is a little bit scared and just wants to get better, starting a challenge where you force yourself into creating, like this, the 100 vlogs, 100 days challenge, it forces you and keeps you accountable to creating video content. But because you have to do it every single day, it removes the ego part. So you're no longer worrying about views, you're no longer worrying about comments, no longer worrying about likes. All that matters during these 100 days is that you post the video every single day for 100 days. Because what happens is you start to get better and you start to get a little bit more comfortable. I started to get more comfortable on camera. I started to be able to articulate messages better. I just became a lot more confident and started to learn the craft of creating video content. But something interesting really happened those days, during those 100 days, which was, although you can see the videos here, 200 views, 100 views, some of them no comments, no engagement whatsoever. Despite that, when I was meeting new people for the first time, they would say things like, Gav, I feel like I already know you. Or, Gav, I watched that video that you made and it really, really resonated with me. And that kind of said something to me. That was like, okay, despite making these terrible videos that aren't edited, they're just shot and uploaded, and they're not getting any engagement, and they're getting a low number of views. Despite that, people are still saying these things. And as a marketer, that made me think, well, what would happen if I put effort into my videos and edited them and tried to tell a story and made something really great that actually provided value? What would happen? Because these videos that are terrible are making people feel like they already know me. And as a marketer, as a business owner, that's what we want from our marketing. Because we only buy from people that we know, we like, and we trust. And if my videos that weren't very good were getting people to know, like, and trust me, what would happen if I tried to make really, really great videos? And so by the end of those 100 days, I decided that I was going to start a weekly vlog where I would just do what I said, which was to create video content that I actually put a lot of effort into and love into. And this is what happened. And in the first year of doing weekly videos, my videos were seen over 1.8 million times on Facebook alone. You can see this one here, 276,000 views. This one here, 100,000 views. This one here, 211,000 views. Like, they just started exploding because I started to put effort into them and I started to understand what people wanted to see when they went on their feed. Now, one thing that you'll realize here is that these videos are actually mostly like nothing to do with business, nothing to do with Facebook. And that's a story in itself, because what I found was creating these videos, I basically learned how to go viral on Facebook. And it was by creating something about a topic that people are interested in that then got them interested in me. I've subsequently started to create content more about like when I first started. So I now document my kind of entrepreneurial journey more and create informative entrepreneurial videos as opposed to these videos. But it just goes to show you that you can start from these number of views, like 100 views, 100 views, no comments. This one here, 276,000 views, almost 1,500 shares, almost 2,000 likes. Anyone here that's watching this, even if you're not very good, not very comfortable, don't have the time, the potential is there to get these enormous amounts of views on Facebook and on social if you just start to create and just start to embrace that messy, that horrible period where you're first starting, you're uncomfortable, you feel like it's a waste of time, no one's listening. But if you commit and you start and you embrace that messy period, then amazing things can happen.
That's like, it's so cool to see the evolution of like content and your journey as well, Gavin. I know people are going to have a ton of questions, so we'll do a Q&A at the end. But maybe if anyone has any questions now, maybe we could take like one or two questions on what you've discussed so far, because I think I'm sure people are going to have some. But I would actually like to ask you as well. So this kind of like viral content that you managed to start creating, like how did you get to the point where you worked this out, like the right kind of content to be creating? I'm just thinking like from a business perspective as well. Like how is there certain research that you do into these videos to find these topics, or certain like distribution strategies? Maybe we could talk about that later on. But how would you go about if you were to do this again, or if you were to do this for one of your clients, if you're managing a client's social media and you're creating video content for them, like how would you help them to try and find these kind of pieces that they can create that are going to gather attention like this that you've managed to do?
Yeah, so I I'm going to speak about a couple of them later on when we get
Cool.
into the kind of more technical lessons part. But basically, the main thing from all of this was I found that if I created video content that was about me or my business or my brand, it did okay. Like people would watch it, people that knew who I was, but people that didn't know who I was weren't going to watch it, because why would a stranger on the street consume a 10-minute video on someone that they don't know and quite frankly don't care about? They're just not really going to watch it. And so the key that I found was to actually try and remove as much of me in the videos. And by that, I mean, don't not taking myself out of the videos, but making it not about me and making it about something else. So in this case, I was making it about places that I was traveling to. In certain businesses, it might be making it about, uh, for example, let's take a football team, for example. It's about, they're very easy, but rather than just promoting themselves, the football team, it's talking about football, it's talking about the fans. It's about taking something that people have an interest in and creating the content around that interest that then brings that people to you. It's like Gary Vaynerchuk, he's a great example. Rather than him talking about himself back in the wine days, he was talking about the wine, and people then followed him because of the wine and started to like him as a result. So it was about removing myself. So some of the things I did there was like if I went traveling to a certain place, rather than me filming my day going, here's me, I'm heading off to this place in Scotland today, sharing my breakfast, sharing my lunch. It was like, boom, I'm in this place. Here's what you can do here. Here's all the great things about this place. How amazing is this place? And you become the presenter of that thing as opposed to the main part of the video, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that is super powerful in itself. Like I was actually having a conversation with somebody about something similar to this the other day, a slightly different um, topic, I guess, but like I was talking to a guy that I met yesterday at a VC firm about how like people always remember that person that is the connector or like the presenter, right? So it's like if I introduce you to somebody else and then I introduce you to another person a couple of weeks down the line, and then I introduce you to someone else further down the line. Like you go away and build good relationships with them, and you always remember that person that is the connector. And I think it's similar with video too, right? Like you'll always remember the person who showed you this kind of stuff. Like it doesn't all have to be about you. So that's like super. That's a super interesting point.
Yeah, and I think it's one that a lot of businesses get. It's a bad habit of a lot of businesses that they will post a lot on social, but it's all about them. It's the latest promotion. It's the, I don't know, the awards that they won. It's just all kind of everything that they're posting is got like a hint of promotion about it, a hint of them, and that's okay if you're a business that's got a large following and people that love you and want to hear about you. But most of us don't, and most of us are wanting to build our audience. And in order to build our audience, we can't just talk about ourselves because people will switch off. We need to talk about things or provide value about things.
Okay, I think Gavin has just dropped off. I think. Can everybody still hear me? Okay, let me just double check. Yeah, okay. You can still hear me. Hopefully, Gavin will be back in a second. While we're waiting for Gavin to come back, how is everybody finding this so far? Has this been really interesting? I think Gavin's story is something that's really inspirational. I love the way that he talks about video content as well.
Oh,
Awesome. Val's enjoying
I
it.
think I'm
Eric's
back.
enjoying it. Awesome. Cool. Yay. Cool. Nice one. Great. Okay. Cool. So Gavin, thank you so much for sharing everything so far. People have been really enjoying this. We're getting a lot of positive comments coming in. Val, I also saw your question, so I'll keep the question until the end when we do the Q&A. I'll make sure I bring that up in the Q&A at the end. So Gavin, I think like it's clear to me, and hopefully it's clear to everybody else now. I know these people are just starting to get to know you for the first time, but I think it would be fair to say that you understand content creation and content distribution very well. And what we want to do, or what I want to do now, is share some tips with people about how they can create better content, whether it be for themselves and their personal brand or their agency clients or their own business, how they can create better content and how they can distribute their content really well. Because I think these are two areas that you can talk about in depth a lot. So I think we should jump into the tips. Now I'll take the first one. So this is a little bit, I guess, more what's the word? More like more businessy than what Gavin has been talking about so far. I hate to use the term businessy, that's not right at all. But I'm thinking here about trying to share some tips with you guys that can help you improve the relationships that you have with your clients when it comes to creating content for them. Because so often in these webinars and when I'm working with other entrepreneurs and agency owners, they'll always tell me if they're doing social media marketing and offering it as a service, one of the big challenges that they have sometimes is when they're creating content and when they're working with their clients is actually proving sometimes the ROI of social, but also proving like why they're doing what they're doing. And I thought this could kind of tie fairly nicely into how to create better content. Like before I don't know how you do this, Gavin, but like before I build out and create any videos for my YouTube channel or posts for LinkedIn or for my email list or anything like that, I always sit down and I start to think about, okay, what is the key objective with this piece of content? Why am I doing this? Because I went through a period when I first kind of started my personal brand, if you wanna call it that. When I first started creating content about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, I would just post anything that came to mind for me and like anything that I was maybe working on or learning about or just anything that came up. And over time, I started to realize that although that content can be interesting for a lot of people and that some people will see benefit from that, actually over time it wasn't having a significant effect on my business because I had no end goal in mind with this content. I wasn't like specifically creating a piece of content to be extremely valuable and help someone with a certain issue. I wasn't creating a piece of content with the aim to drive leads to my website or to get people to sign up for my ebook or something like that. I just had no defined goals and no plan. So I always encourage people before we start talking about like the actual specific kind of content that you create and how you can then distribute that content. I always encourage people to start by defining their goals, whether this is for yourself or your clients, and discussing with your clients or discussing this with yourself and your own team about like what do you want to see from this content? What do you want to see? What results do you want to see from social? When I talk about goals, like these can be fairly simple things. Like I always encourage you to start with kind of high level goals. Things like often I'll hear, okay, we want to increase our website traffic, or maybe we want increased sales, or we want more people downloading this certain ebook that we're giving away, or something like that. So I always recommend starting these conversations, if it's with your clients, around some of these high level goals, and then off the back of these goals, creating some like KPIs, performance indicators. And whenever I'm structuring goals for myself, I always use the SMART goals methodology. So that's when you set specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based goals. And that's one thing that I've found really important whenever I'm creating content for myself or my clients is focusing on, before doing anything else, like why are we doing this? What do we want to achieve from doing this? And once we have that understood, that's when I'll then go to start creating things. How do you usually like plan out your content, Gavin? Do you plan things or do you do everything on the fly? Like, is there a balance between the two? How do you do things?
Yeah, we kind of do a little bit of both. So I've got like an Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets that I use where whenever there's anything, any topic that comes to mind, it might be when I get asked a question at an event, it might be when I see someone else write a question or answer a question and I think it's good. Any content idea that comes, I've got in Google Sheets that I just fire it into there. Um, and what we try and do now is, or what we're trying to do right now is to mix up the content that we're creating to be some of it lifestyle based. So that's the kind of more vlogging, not documentary, documenting style content where we're kind of sharing my journey as a young entrepreneur to try and build a bit of brand to just show people what it's like to be an entrepreneur, the journey that I'm on, and then mix that up with the kind of more informative pieces. So I guess you can see it as the kind of more lifestyle stuff is the entertaining side of what we do, and then the other side is the informative content. So the stuff that's kind of really driven by what helps our potential customers. So that might be how to create your first Facebook ad, and that might be how to install the Facebook Pixel on your website. The types of stuff that is really going to be found mostly from search, people searching on YouTube and Google, and then us appearing. And I think with the goals that we are setting there, it's probably not as specific as it needs to be, but we're kind of going for the informative pieces, the how-tos, the stuff that's really driven by SEO and search. That's predominantly there to help provide value and to drive leads and sales. Because we know if somebody's searching for those terms, those things, then we know that they're kind of on that journey of searching to try and find out these things, and then they might come and buy one of my courses, for example. And then the lifestyle stuff, really, to be honest, we don't have a huge amount of goals there other than trying to drive interactions, engagement, views, and kind of just the odd comment that people watched it and liked it, to be honest. Although saying that, there's things like, so we recently filmed a vlog where we went down to London to speak at VidCon. Now that's a kind of lifestyle piece, but one of the things that we're trying to do is to educate people during those vlogs. So if I'm speaking on stage, I might give a little tip about how I plan or how I practice my talks. So kind of trying to get little tidbits of value in there throughout the kind of entertaining pieces, and then also using that content. So if it's a speaking event, we'll use that piece of content to promote the fact that I'm a speaker. So the end goal might not be someone buying a course or a product, but it might be getting more speaking gigs. So yeah, I think there is goals behind everything we do, but we probably just aren't as specific as we maybe should be with it.
Yeah, that's interesting because I don't know about you, but when I first started creating content, I didn't even think about any of that stuff. I would just record anything and everything, right? So
yeah, I think we all started from there, and I think I think if you maybe it's a healthy place to start, because if you get too bogged down in who's this for, what's it for, what am I trying to achieve, and in the early days you're probably not going to achieve much from it. It might be a little bit disheartening. So
yeah, I actually did a video about that the other day, about how often if we get into that mindset, we can start thinking about perfection, like being a perfectionist rather than being consistent, and how when we get to that point, it can really kill productivity because it puts you into this area of constant procrastination. Like if you're trying to plan out every single piece of content perfectly to a T to have this exact result. So it's all about finding that balance, I think.
100%, totally.
Cool. Why don't you go ahead and share share the next tip with us that you for everyone. Yeah.
Let's do it. So this is kind of I kind of touched upon this with what we were speaking about when I was sharing journey, but every Friday in my Facebook group I go live to critique the funnels and the content that the members of the group are doing, and I would say, and this is not an exaggeration, 9 times out of 10, when I go and I look at their Facebook feed, all the posts are about them. It's this promotion that we're doing, it's this giveaway that we're doing, it's this award that we won. It's just content about them trying to sell their services. Now, I totally get why this happens. You've got, let's say, someone in a marketing role, they've been told, right, marketing is to drive sales, which it totally is. And so them coming into this role go, right, well, I need to create kind of salesy based stuff. And so they start doing promotional posts. But what happens is consumers switch off because they don't want to see that when they go on Facebook. When the consumer is on Facebook, they're there to speak to friends and family. And when you're creating content, you're competing against the content of friends and family. You're not competing against your competitors. And so we need to create content that's about the consumer, or is for the consumer, and is not about you. Now, I've put a screenshot here of one of my friends, Call, who has just hit 12,000 subscribers on YouTube. And all his videos are, he's a branding guy, and all of his videos are about branding and about helping people with their branding. And that, his YouTube channel now is one of the main drivers of his business for leads and sales, because the content that he's creating, like I say, the second bullet point is he's creating videos around the problems that his customers have, the questions that they have, the interests that they have. If someone has a problem on the Facebook Pixel, how to install the Facebook Pixel, and they're Googling, how do I install the Facebook Pixel? If I am the first person to appear there in Google or YouTube with the best piece of content that helps them with their problem, they're going to remember that. They're going to come onto my site. My Pixel's going to fire, so I'm going to get them. But they're going to come on my site. Hopefully they read my content. Hopefully they then go and read further content that helps them. And over time, they start to like me, they start to know me, they start to trust me. They maybe watch a couple of my videos. And all of a sudden, when they have the need to start taking their Facebook ads to the next level, who are they going to choose? They're going to choose me. They're going to contact me and ask how I can help. And that's how your content drives customers. And this kind of third bullet point I put, would a stranger share this? When you're creating content for the likes of Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever, creating video content, is ask yourself before you post it, would a stranger share it? Would someone that doesn't know who I am share this piece of content? If we look at Call's example here, like, yes, Call is in every thumbnail, Call is the speaking head in all of the videos, but the videos aren't about Call at all. They're about getting comfortable in front of camera, what is brand architecture, how to do a trademark search, all these different things, which personally I don't have an interest in, a huge amount of these branding things, but his perfect customer will have an interest in. And so you need to create for your perfect customer, for your consumer. And before you can do that, it's about learning who is my customer, what are they interested in, what are they not interested in, how can I help them, what problems do they have, what pain points do they have. So it's not about you, it's about the consumer. So when you go away from this webinar, think first of all, who is the person that we're trying to target? What do they want to see? And let's be the people that create what they want to see. Let's ignore and let's scrap anything that's purely to do with us. Because if you ask yourself the question, would a stranger share this? If it's about you, chances are they won't. If it's about them and it's helping them, then yeah, they probably will. So that's my point there, Dylan.
Yeah, I think that's like super valuable advice. It's something that we all forget about a lot. Like for me personally, I try and get like sometimes some of my videos will be about like me and what I'm working on and my journey, like you were talking about earlier on, but always the videos that perform best, do the best for my positioning, and the ones that actually generate like leads for me and for my business are always the ones, as you say, where they're focused on actually supporting and helping other people. Like I restarted, or I started taking YouTube as a channel seriously fairly recently, like a couple months ago, and I have a very small channel right now, and the two videos that have performed the best and continue to now bring in like each of them 100 or a couple hundred views every like 48 hours at the moment are two videos about, they're actually like walkthroughs on how you can, one was on how you can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator to generate like leads and find leads for your business. And like the videos that I do that are focused on those value pieces, like you're sharing with your friend Cole here, it's like those are the ones that work the best, but also we were talking earlier about the power of being that person that is like the connector or the teacher, right? And as soon as someone associates you with teaching people other things, it also up levels your like your credibility as well, I think, and how people see you and how knowledgeable you are. And I think this is easily replicated for brands as well. But as you say, so many brands are just posting like about what awards they've won, or they've just moved to a new office maybe, or they've just hired this new person. Everything's about them, not about ways that they can help and support their potential customers. So I think this is like super valuable advice. So thank you for sharing that, Gavin. Now, my third tip, we've talked a lot about video content, which totally makes sense based on everything that Gavin has been able to achieve and how important video content is right now. But I think it's also important to talk about. I wanted to share like another content creation tip that is going to be relevant to a lot of you guys if maybe you're not doing video content for your clients or for yourself. But before I get into this, I just wanted to ask you all a question. So how many people on here are running like a social media marketing agency where they're doing social media management for their clients? I'd be really interested to see if we have any of those. I'm sure we will, because that's how most people often find out about Promo Republic. Okay, so Vanessa says yes, Mary is, Tiara, Renee, Lynn, Erica. Okay, so it looks like we have quite a few agency owners who are managing social media for their clients. So one of the things that I have found out, like I don't do social media management for our clients. We focus specifically on paid ads for them. But I've come to find out over time through working with Promo Republic, through speaking to some other entrepreneurs, that a big pain point seems to be not just like the time that you spend on content creation, that is one, but also people often say to me on these webinars that they find it difficult to, once they've created this content, to get it seen by their clients, to get it approved by their clients, and to kind of get started with everything. And Promo Republic actually did a survey that's like asking agency owners what their biggest pain point is in their kind of day-to-day business, and 78% of those agency owners said that the approval process was like their biggest pain. And so I often ask people, okay, so if creating content is taking you a lot of time and getting your content approved by your clients is taking you a lot of time, what can we do to improve that? Like in my business, I'm always trying to come up with ways that I can either delegate tasks to other people or save time on what we're doing. Because Gavin mentioned this earlier on, but time is one of the only like resources that we can't get more of. Everybody has the same amount of time throughout the day. So how many of you guys are like building out content calendars for your clients, maybe in Excel sheets or like in Google Drive, and then maybe you're emailing these to your clients, or you're going and having a face-to-face meeting with your clients and trying to get their approval on these posts or showing these posts to them, etc. Let's just see if anyone's in this position. Okay, so a few people are saying that approval is a pain. Renee saying it's not too much of a problem. Mary uses Google Drive, an Excel sheet. Okay, cool. So I just wanted to, like, before we get into the next section of this webinar where we're talking about the content distribution tips, like Gavin has a couple tips to share, I have a tip to share, and then after that we'll do the Q&A. I did just want to show you guys one way that Promo Republic could help save you time, right, and help you service your clients better. If you remember at the start of this webinar, I was talking about how Promo Republic at the start of this, or at the end of last year, released a new kind of agency specific version of their solution, right? And I just want to share with you a couple of ways. I'm not going to take a load of your time and go through like a full demo for you or anything like that, so you don't need to worry. But I do want to show you a couple of things that I think you'll find interesting, in a couple of ways that maybe through working with something like Promo Republic or any other tool out there, you might be able to save yourself some time at working with your clients. So I'm just going to select part of my screen to share with you guys now. So if you just bear with me for a second. Can you let me know if you my screen? There should be like a dashboard that you're looking at right now. Let's just wait to see what
I can see it now.
Yeah, cool. Okay, awesome. So this dashboard is the Promo Republic dashboard. Some of you will be familiar with this, some of you won't be. It does look ever so slightly different. So one part of the agency like offering by Promo Republic and the agency solution, which I think is really cool, is the ability to completely white label this this solution. So I know this isn't going to like save you time, but this could help you. This could help you really position yourself as an authority with your clients if they see this, or just look fairly interesting. So you'll see at the top of the screen we have this like pink bar at the top with a love heart up here. So we put this for the webinar. The last webinar was actually on Valentine's Day, so we thought we would like label it up like it was a Valentine's Day thing. But basically you can get this this tool completely white labeled with your own logo, with your own branding, with your own domain name. So you can see we have this one set up as socialway.agency. This is just a test account, but you get the idea. But one thing that I wanted to share with you and show you how you can use something like Promo Republic to save time and to help with your approval process. For those of you that said you were creating content plans and content calendars in like Google Drive and in Excel, and then sharing it with your clients and then waiting for them to come back to you, etc. Like one great thing about Promo is that you can actually build out that calendar directly in the tool. And if you use the agency solution, there is a content like approval workflow and process in here where your clients can actually just come in and take a look at the post and maybe give some feedback or say yes or say no. And it looks just like this. So this is the dashboard that you'll see. And Promo Republic actually even gives you suggestions based on like, okay, maybe today you should share a blog post or a motivational post, etc. And you can come through and change different time settings, so it can suggest time slots for you as to when to post, and it can auto schedule it, like I'm sure you've seen on a number of different tools. But one thing that is actually really cool about this, and this is where we start to talk about saving time, is if some of you are managing multiple different clients, I know how difficult it can be to come up with content ideas. Maybe this is something that Gavin and I talked about earlier on, how a lot of people will overthink and will end up like just not delivering because they can't come up with ideas. Part of this dashboard in Promo Republic is you can see upcoming events. So every single day, it's like the team find all the different events that are going on. So if we look at today, here we go. Like in 1954, the DNA double helix was discovered. And like there's loads of other little facts that come through, whether it's a specific day, so tomorrow, World Compliment Day. And like there's just ideas here for you to start creating content. But the reason I like this and the reason I think this is going to save you guys a lot of time, one of them is if you were to use this as your content plan and your content calendar to share with your clients, like I'm actually just going to show you how you would do that. So you can add in posts like this. And the great thing about Promo that I really do like, I'm sure some of you will be creating content in tools like Canva or Adobe Spark or Illustrator, some of these other tools, and then downloading them to your computer, logging into maybe Hootsuite or Buffer or whichever tool you use, and then uploading them and then scheduling them. That can be quite a long, time-consuming process, especially if you're working with multiple clients. With Promo Republic, we have all of this like functionality actually built in directly into the tool. So there's this this image editor and image creator that comes with like thousands of different post templates that you can utilize, and all of these are completely editable as well. So let's say, for example, I wanted to use this one, so you can see like there's a few posts because tomorrow is the 1st of March, right? So there's a few ideas for you here, but you can come in and you can edit absolutely everything. You can save brand guidelines or your client's brand guidelines in here and quickly edit posts on the fly. But I wasn't here to like show you all of that. I just wanted to show you what the process would look like. Let's say we wanted to use this post, right? And we go to create this post, and it will prepare the content for us. And then instead of like automatically posting or scheduling the post, which we can do if we want, you can actually schedule it for approval by your clients. So you'll see here, this is only available in like the agency solution, the agency version of Promo Republic. But up here, there's a little option where you can propose this post for approval, and then you just hit the schedule, and your client will receive an update to let them know that okay, there is a new post that has been scheduled, and it shows up like this. And they can either edit it, they can add some comments, they can approve, or you can come in and delete this. So I'll just remove this. But that's just like one thing that I wanted to quickly show you. If we go into the post ideas library, this is what I was talking about earlier on, where Promo Republic updates this every single month with thousands of new ideas for you based on maybe events, different topics. There was recommended sections for you. So using a tool like this, you're never going to run out of ideas and things to post. And this can be a huge time saver. So whilst we were talking about like how you can improve your content creation process, how you can get your content approved by your clients faster and look more professional whilst you're doing it, I just wanted to show you guys a little glimpse inside of the Promo Republic agent solution. There's also like an analytics section with some great reporting features that have been released recently, statistics on all of your posts, etc. And yeah, it's like a really cool tool that can save you guys a lot of time, especially if you're managing multiple client accounts. So I didn't want this webinar isn't here to be like a demo or to be a huge sales pitch for all of you guys. But whilst we were talking about content creation and distribution, I just wanted to share this with you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I will go back to the slide deck that we have, and we can carry on with the presentation. I saw Varun has just asked a couple of questions, so I can answer one or two quick questions, but everything else we'll do at the end of this session. One thing I will say is that if you are interested in finding out a little bit more about the agency solution, you want to learn maybe how it works or how it can fit into your business, learn more about the pricing structure, etc. I'm just going to share a call to action button which should appear on your screen right now for the next 5 minutes. If a couple of you could just let me know if that is appearing. But basically this button lets you schedule in a call with the team. And as a special deal, as part of these webinars, like anyone that schedules a call with the team using that link, you will be even offered like an additional discount on the agency solution as well. But I think that's enough of me talking about Promo Republic. I want to get back to making sure we're providing you guys with a ton of value and a ton more support. So let's start talking about content distribution tips. Gavin, I know you have an interesting one to start with, so I'll let you take the lead on this one.
Yeah, this is my favorite ones, and kind of, I guess I've touched upon from my story. So if we go all the way back to that forest video, I used my phone, and then I kind of slowly upgraded my equipment to a small camera, then a DSLR, and now I have a part-time videographer that works with me and edits all my videos, and we shoot together quite regularly. And one of the main things that we're trying to work on right now is our content distribution. And I can't push how important good content distribution is. It's all well and good to create a video, but if you post a video and it isn't seen by anyone, then what's the point? I would almost argue that you want to spend more time distributing your content than you do creating it. And one of the things that we're really trying to push right now, and I guess it's not original to Gary Vee, but Gary Vee kind of coined the phrase, is creating micro content. So whenever we are shooting, me and Ed, my video guy, a big 10-minute piece, so we call it our pillar content. We try and put 2 pillar pieces of content out every week, which is either our informative or our entertaining content. Whenever we put one of those out, rather than just telling everyone, we've created this new video, go check it out, is we try and create micro content from that pillar piece of content. So if in a vlog that let's use a VidCon as an example. So we traveled down to VidCon, spoke at VidCon, was on stage for 50 minutes, and we shot the whole thing. So that video, the vlog, will be around 7 minutes or something. But we can take little snippets of my talk. So maybe within that talk, I'm speaking about, I'm just making this up, how to create incredible video content. We might include that in the 7-minute piece of content, but we take that, maybe it's 1 minute, 60 seconds, how to create incredible video content, and we make that a video of its own. And that's a micro piece of content that will probably do better on social, but it drives people and pushes people to that longer form content. So always be thinking, how can I create micro content? How can I take 30-second, 60-second little small parts of the longer form content that you're creating, and you use those micro pieces of content to push people to the larger pieces. So an example, like with the content that we create, we fell into a bad habit of we would shoot a video, upload a video, and we would then just put tweets out and Instagram stories out and Instagram posts out saying, hey everyone, go over to my YouTube channel and check out this new video. And we would just use like a 60-second segment of that video, but it was purely promotional. And when people know it's promotional, they don't consume it. And so what we're trying to work on now is, can we turn that 60-second, what was promotional pieces, into valuable pieces of their own? And another example of this is, like, if you've got a 10-minute video, can you strip the audio of that and turn it into a podcast, and then get it transcribed and turn that into a blog post, and then turn that blog post into tweets, and turn the the 10-minute video into a series of 3 different 60-second videos for Instagram. So think of what your pillar content is going to be, that kind of big, probably slightly longer form, informative or entertaining pieces are, and then can you use other form, micro content, Instagram, podcasts, blog posts, to save yourself time, but to create tons and tons of pieces of content. So if you go check out Gary Vee's content model, again, if you Google that, Gary Vee's content model, you'll see he has a slide deck that walks you through how he creates 30 pieces of content from one keynote. So one 30-minute piece of content is then turned into 30 pieces of content. And for the people that say that time is an issue, this is one of the best ways to maximize the reach and maximize your content for your time. So create micro.
Yeah, I love that strategy, and I shared the link to Gary Vee's like blog post and the slide deck that he has all about this, because I talk to people about this a lot and I find it really valuable. So if anyone wants to check that out, the link is in the chat box for this webinar, so you can go and check out Gary Vee's like strategy in depth. He has like this big slide deck about it all.
It's great.
Awesome, cool. Okay, and then let's get into your second tip, Gavin, because I found this one really interesting. I use this a lot for my own content as well, and actually this has been a really powerful strategy for me to generate agency clients over the last couple of months too. So I'm keen to hear like your take on this and how you do this and your tips, and maybe I can share a couple as well.
Yeah, really keen to hear how you do it as well, Dylan, because this is really kind of relevant to when I was creating Scottish-based content, which was for all of us. We were trying to create content for a specific audience of people, and what we're trying to do is to create something that's interesting to a certain person, so they listen, consume it, and then hopefully work with us. And one of the kind of low-hanging fruit for that is to find where these groups of people that you're going after hang out. And you'll find, if you go onto Facebook and just search for your specific industry or niche, you'll find hundreds probably of active, relevant groups of people that are consuming the types of content that you're creating. So I can't remember what I typed in here, something to do with marketing, and you can see digital marketing agency owners, affiliate marketing. So if you're creating affiliate marketing type content that helps affiliate marketers, those groups would be great for you. And this was probably my main distribution channel for the kind of Scottish-based content, that content that went viral. So the 200, 300,000 view videos was, I would create a piece of video content around Scotland and share it into Scottish-based Facebook groups. Because they're in a group, because they want to consume content around Facebook, as soon as I shared my content into them, it exploded. And I find it slightly harder now, I've got to admit, now that I've gone back to the business kind of marketing content, because when people see that on Facebook, they immediately think it's spam and annoying. So it's slightly harder for me in this space. But if there's anyone, I guess this is maybe really applicable to the guys here that are working with clients. And if you're working with a lifestyle brand, for example, you're working with a coffee brand, sharing amazing, high quality, informative, entertaining videos that you create on coffee into people that, like, I Love Coffee Facebook group that's got 30,000 people in it, that's going to explode your views there. And as you start to generate more views, if you're using the likes of Facebook retargeting, every view you get on Facebook can be used to retarget people into your funnel, and that's why it's so important and so powerful to use Facebook groups to get more views, because you know that they're going to be falling into your rating buckets later down the funnel. But I'm keen to hear,
Yeah.
Dylan, how you go about it, because you're obviously in a similar space to me in the marketing world, and I'm
Yeah.
yet to find groups that are kind of relevant here.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. I think like what you just shared is super applicable, especially for people that are running stuff for their clients. Like the coffee example is a great one. Anyone that's like running maybe social media marketing for like local businesses, restaurants, anything like that. To be honest, any business, I think there are now Facebook communities specific for those. So I'd really recommend doing that. The way that I'm doing this is like it's actually a little bit different. So I'm not sharing my videos right now in these groups, Gav, but I've found so my target buyer, right, is like I work with SaaS companies and SaaS companies only, and they have to be of like a certain size, usually based on their revenue, etc. Like we don't need to go into super full depth on my target persona, but there are a ton of groups on Facebook. There's actually like 3 or 4 very useful ones that I use a lot, which are tailored specifically towards like SaaS founders and people in the SaaS industry. So one of them is called SaaS Growth Hacks, and I think it has about 8 or 10,000 members. There's one called SaaS Products and Marketing, and one called like SaaS Founders, CEOs, and Execs, or something like that. And what I've been experimenting with over the last couple of months is like going into these groups. I've always been a member of them anyway because I've worked in that space for a while. Spending a little bit of time every few days, like coming in and actually engaging with people in the groups and helping them, answering their questions that they have and responding to their comments, etc., so that people are frequently seeing me in the group. And I've talked about this in a couple of webinars in the past about how important it is for me to have my Facebook profile, my personal profile, set up like it's its own landing page, right? So if someone comes through on my profile, there's some solid call to actions there. They know what I do, they know what I'm all about, and I position myself well. And what I've been doing is like spending time in these groups, coming in, engaging with people, sharing knowledge with them, and that's led to a couple of people then messaging me, asking me for support. But then to like top that up, I've also like been coming into the groups and sharing really helpful like tips. So for example, a couple of weeks ago, I went in and I shared like five Google Ads strategies that we have been testing for our clients that people often miss that can work well. So it was things like very specific pieces of advice, like making sure you remove your current customers from the audiences that you're targeting. So like you upload a list of your current customers, or you use your custom conversion events in Google and remove your current customers from targeting, and like things like that, right? So like fairly simple, but tips that our clients, when we work with them and start working with them, they've often missed. And through doing that, like sharing maybe one post a week or one every few days, and going in helping people every so often, I found I actually started to generate a good number of leads for my business through Facebook groups. So that's how I've been using it and how it's been working fairly well with me. I guess that helps because I have that like specific niche, but I definitely think you could try something similar, because like you have so much content already that helps people. The reason I wasn't like sharing my videos in there is because like if they, as you said earlier, like people are now becoming more and more used to seeing that stuff, and if I go and share like a video about Google Ads strategies in one of these groups, I still think people are going to think it's me clearly like trying to pitch for new business, and people might get turned off by that. But when I'm actually just going in and writing like a specific helpful post, I've found a better return from that recently. So that's how I've been using it to help me like generate additional revenue for the agency recently.
Yeah, I think that's smart, and I think one of the key things I took there was you are going into uh, an audience of SaaS owners and creating content about marketing. So it's not necessarily, you're not just kind of trying to promote to marketers, which looks spammy, is you're actually providing value to the SaaS owners, but with a marketing slant. So it'd be like the equivalent of me going into a group for personal trainers and sharing marketing content in there to help the personal trainers, not me going into an audience of marketers and providing marketing content. So I guess it's, yeah,
Exactly.
finding that, just finding the right areas where the people that you want to work with are hanging out and giving them something that they're interested in.
Yeah, Totally, totally. And I think that's the most important thing is like you talked about this earlier, is making sure that the content that you're creating is focused towards providing value and like helping these people out, because that's when you're going to see the most benefit from it. If I went into the SaaS groups and I just shared a post about, hey, like I run this agency, we do Google ads for SaaS companies and Facebook ads for SaaS companies, and we're great. We just got this client X amount of return. Like people aren't going to enjoy that kind of stuff. Whereas if I go in and actually help them with some problems that they have, then the way that they see me automatically is completely different from if I just gone in and shared, hey, this is me and this is what we do.
Totally. Love it.
Cool. Okay, so we have like a couple more tips to share. I'm fairly like conscious of your time as well, Gavin. So I'm going to speed through these and then we can get to the Q&A section at the end. One thing I wanted to talk about, this is like a very brief and fairly simple point, but one that people miss. Like I used to do this all the time where I would spend a ton of time coming up with a content idea. So I'd create a video or I'd write a post or have a blog post. Like on my podcast, I used to have each episode turned into a blog. And then what I would do is I would post the blog once. I would maybe promote it on like Facebook and talk about it on Twitter and LinkedIn. And then I would leave it and I would forget about it. And I know that a lot of people do this, and it just doesn't make sense to do that anymore. Like I always suggest to people that you go and find which pieces of your content have performed well and which pieces are the most useful, and go and recycle these pieces of content, because often we spend so much time and so much energy creating content, and then when we share it, like not everybody in your audience is going to see this post. They're not all going to be like scrolling through Facebook at that specific time, or they're not all going to be on that platform at that one specific time. Or maybe someone that's not even following you yet, but they might be in a few months, they might find this piece of content useful and interesting. So I always recommend to people, don't forget this from your social media and your content strategy. Like remember to recycle like top performing and good pieces of content. It kind of ties into what Gavin was talking about with the creating micro content as well. That's like a much more advanced way of like recycling one big piece of content and turning it into multiple others. But for a lot of you, I think this would be a really important tip, and you can actually do this really easily. You can do it in Promo Republic. You can do it in a number of other social media management tools. A lot of them may have this this feature that you can in Promo, when you're creating a post, you can actually schedule how you would like it to be repeated. So, for example, maybe you want it to be repeated every month on like the second Tuesday or Friday or anything like that, and you want it to repeat 3 or 4 times. So you can do all this kind of stuff when you're creating your content and scheduling it through Promo Republic. So that was one quick tip that I wanted to share. And then just one more thing before we get to like questions and answers at the end. Gavin, I guess this kind of goes a little bit against what you were talking about earlier on in terms of like if you're a brand creating content that is really like useful for people and engage, like not engaging, that's not the right word, but really useful and value driven for people. This is a little bit different. This isn't a campaign that I ran, but this is a friend of mine who does like Facebook, well, social media management and Facebook marketing for local businesses. He like looks after restaurants. And he had been having a lot of success recently by like tapping into people's emotions to then help drive that virality. So like he, for example, got this restaurant to agree to give away free shakes for like they're a juice bar, so it was like free shakes for a year to one like lucky winner, right? And all you have to do is comment below with what your favorite shake is or engage on the post. And this led to this like viral effect, if you want to call it that. Like you can see it's had 1,500 comments, 263 shares, and I think I cut off the end of the screenshot that he shared with me here, but I think it's like 29,000 people that this is reached without any ad spend or anything. And for a small local business like a juice bar, this can be huge. Like yes, they're going to give away free shakes for a year to someone, but I'm pretty sure they're going to generate much more revenue as a result of this than what those free shakes will cost them. So this was like one thing I want to share. I don't do this kind of stuff, so this was kind of me taking an example from someone like a friend of mine. So I don't know if maybe Gavin, you're probably a bit more clued in as to whether this strategy is okay, whether it still works or not, because I know there was some problems with like engagement baiting people at some point. But I thought it'd be interesting to talk about how like you can, when you're thinking about, okay, maybe we want to think about providing value in our post, but there is also the other route we can go down to try and drive this like social sharing effect through leaning on people's emotions, like getting people to want to engage with the content. And I thought this would be a good example to share. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, because as I said, this isn't like something that I do. It was just I'd heard about it from a friend and I wanted to put it in because I thought it could be interesting.
Yeah, 100%. Like so in a pre-GDPR world, we ran a campaign for a client of mine who runs a bass guitar membership site, and we ran a competition where if you wanted to win a free bass guitar, you had to comment on the post, and that then opened up a messenger conversation within ManyChat,
Yeah.
and we gave away the bass, which was worth like $2,000 or something, but we had hundreds of people sign up to the membership as a result, because everybody that entered that competition went into an autoresponder that said, hey, look, if you win the bass, the membership's going to be great for you to learn how to play it, etc., etc. So that worked really, really well. And I'm kind of doing something similar actually in my own right now in my Facebook group. We've just reached 1,000 members, and so I'm doing a giveaway where I said because we've reached 1,000 members, I'm giving away to 3 lucky members access to my Facebook ad training program, which is worth £600. So I'm going to go through the comments and pick 3 people at random, but we've had about 200 comments in there, which is great. But the main thing for me isn't giving away the three training programs, isn't the engagement. That's given me 200 people that are interested in a Facebook ad training program. And so what I'll be doing is going through them all and saying, unfortunately, you didn't win this time, but we're launching a new coaching program in a couple of months' time. Would you be interested in joining the waiting list for that? So that's kind of like ongoing. I don't know how well that's going to perform, but I think because we've got 200 people there that are interested in learning Facebook ads, they've shown that by commenting on the post, by me then saying, we've got a waiting list, do you want to join it? I think that'll do pretty well. So yeah,
Awesome.
I think you're like driving emotion is awesome.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. So we are going to get to the Q&A in a second, everyone. So if you can start putting together your questions, maybe even start writing them in the chat box. And Gavin, I don't know how much like additional time you have, because I know we've already gone a little bit longer than planned. But if you're happy to hang around for a couple of questions, we can get to those. So people start putting their questions in. And just before, like whilst you're doing that, one more thing I wanted to share with you is we talked briefly about the agency solution of Promo Republic, and I just want to give you a couple more slides on that. So if you do want to learn more about the agency solution and you have a couple of questions, or maybe you want to see how the white label version works, etc., I'm going to put the little button again on the screen that you can press to schedule a call, and anyone who does schedule a call using that button will receive a special discount offered on top of the pricing for things. So you've seen already the graphics editor that I showed you. You've seen the fact that it has a really great collaboration platform where you can collaborate with your clients, where you can manage multiple clients, and you can white label it up to look really professional when your clients are in the account. But this is the last thing I wanted to tell you about Promo Republic agency offering before we get to the Q&A with myself and with Gavin. And this is like a comparison table that has been put together, putting Promo Republic alongside all of the other solutions that you've probably heard about. And the team at Promo did a quick calculation for an agency that is managing 30 different social media accounts, and maybe they have like 5 team members who would need access to the tool. And they found out that if you were to choose Promo Republic, just based on the pricing alone, it can save you anywhere between $600 and $5,400 over the year compared to other solutions out there. So Promo Republic, not only a really great tool, but also a very affordable tool as well. And I think the agency solution genuinely is really good. Like some of you may know this, but I actually used to work for Hootsuite a couple of years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago. And I love the team at Hootsuite. I still have a lot of good friends there, and I have a huge amount of admiration for what Hootsuite do. But genuinely, I do think, depending on the size of your business, if you're maybe like a small agency that's just got started, or you're like a boutique agency, maybe you're managing a few clients, I think a solution like Premier Republic could be even more effective for you. So if you do want to find out a bit more about it, the link is on the screen. You can use that to book onto a call. But now I'd just love to take a couple of questions with myself and with Gavin before we wrap up. So Gavin, I can see Val has asked a question saying, when you upload videos to Facebook directly, I believe they have a better chance of being seen rather than uploading them to YouTube and then sharing a YouTube link. And that is correct. Val says, my question though is, how can you drive traffic to your YouTube channel, or does it even matter? Maybe Gavin, like you could explain. So your kind of strategy, because I know you post a lot of videos natively on Facebook and you have a YouTube channel. Are you trying to cross-pollinate between the two, or are you sharing the same videos on both natively? How are you doing things yourself?
Yeah, so currently we just post the same videos on Facebook and YouTube, and that's not where we want to be. It's just where we're at with time and resource. So in an ideal world, what we'll be moving to is creating kind of long form content for YouTube, and then using the micro pieces of content on Facebook that will just be content on its own, and whether it pushes people um, to the YouTube page or not, then that's fine. I'm happy. Not it's I don't because I don't see myself as a YouTuber as such. I'm a business owner that creates content. I'm not too fussed where people consume my content. I'm only fussed about them consuming it, so they can consume it wherever they want. And so it's down to, with that, it's down to me to create the content that best suits them and best suits the platform that they're consuming on. But there's a couple of things that you can do, little tips and tricks. One thing that I've done regularly, not currently, but is to create a retargeting ad. So create a custom audience of people that have watched your videos on Facebook, and create a retargeting ad saying, thanks for watching my videos on Facebook. You might be interested in heading over to YouTube and subscribing to me there. That's done really well in the past for me, driving people that are watching my content on Facebook over to YouTube. You could do the same with people that watch your videos on Instagram, push them over to YouTube with retargeting ads. Little things such as embedding your videos on your blog, on your website. Little things like what Dylan does quite a lot is by putting the link in the first comment. Just all these little things. But I think the main thing is asking yourself, are you trying to specifically grow your YouTube channel, or are you specifically trying to just grow yourself as a personal brand overall? And if you're just trying to do the overall thing, I wouldn't worry a huge amount about pushing people towards YouTube. I'd worry about just creating the best experience you can for the people you're going after on the platform that they want to consume it on. Interested to hear your thoughts, Dylan.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. So for me personally, like I would love to be sharing my videos both on YouTube and Facebook like natively, but right now I'm not doing that, and like I don't really have a reason for that, to be honest. I hadn't really thought about it until just now. Like I use my Facebook page, my like entrepreneur page on Facebook. Whenever I have a speaking gig or an event, I'll share like a highlight video on there, and then I'll use some ads to put it towards the right audience and then collect them and retarget them, etc. I haven't been doing that with my like YouTube videos, so maybe that's something that I should think about. But one way that I cross-pollinate, I am trying to get people from well, I'm just trying to get more eyes on my videos on YouTube because I'm only sharing them on YouTube. And I found for me personally, like for my kind of coaching like business that I'm building now, is that the value of getting someone to watch one of my videos on YouTube is really high. Like if someone spends time with me on YouTube, they'll often watch a number of videos. And I like really value a subscriber really highly on YouTube at the moment. Like a lot of my coaching clients recently have come as a result of my YouTube videos, and I'm sure it would happen the same way if I shared the videos on Facebook. But what I actually do is I have like a fairly good sized audience on my Facebook like personal page, and what I do is I'll share like a short post covering some of the key points that I go through in my video, but then still like teasing a little bit, and then I'll share like a creative image, and then I'll let people know that if they want to see the full video, I'll put the link to that video in the comments section on the post, just because I find if I put it in the comments rather than the actual post itself, it seems to be seen by more people. So that's the way that I'm doing it, but I totally agree with everything that you say, Gavin. Like it depends on what your objectives and what your goals are. Like I'm not focusing on becoming like a YouTuber per se. Like I just want people to see the content. I'm just using YouTube because for me that's the easiest way for me to be able to like create these videos, which I know I can get in front of people by creating videos based on what people are going to be searching for, and I can target people at specific points in the like buying process or the marketing funnel. So that's the way that I do things. I can see a question from. It looks like we only have one more question. So if anyone else has questions, please go ahead and get them in. But a question from Norm, and he says, this may be out of the scope, but when creating the content to solve a problem, how do you balance how much premium content is shared, and what methods are you using to monetize that shared content and steer visitors to paid content? That's a really interesting question. So, Gavin, I think you should take this one first because I'm only right now starting to get into this space of like monetizing some of my content, I guess I would call it that. But I know that you've had like a course and a paid program for a while. So how do you deal with that? Like how much do you give away for free, and how do you decide what to charge for?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something that I'm always thinking about. And I feel like I've kind of hit the, I was going to say the nail on the head. I feel like we've kind of got a good balance that we're happy now with, which is the paid stuff, the paid content is it's going to be more technical based. So it's going to be screen shares, walking people through how to create how to manage your optimization of your Facebook ads, for example. So something that's very technical, that's very screen share driven, walking people through, showing people how to do it. And then the content that we post on YouTube and Facebook might be slightly content driven, but it's not going to be super technical in terms of, for example, like I said, full on optimization of an ad campaign. It might be how to create your first Facebook ad, or this kind of more lifestyle driven content that we're creating. I think it's about the stuff that you share that's not paid is going to be your content that doesn't, well, it's you're let's say you're going after entrepreneurs, business owners. You want to create content that's going to be interesting to them. It doesn't necessarily have to be, in my case, about Facebook ads. It can be about anything related to entrepreneurs, because all you're trying to do there is get their attention and get them to know who you are, and then drive them into a program that is about a specific problem or a specific issue that they're facing. So if I create videos that are about being an entrepreneur, maybe it's called something like harsh realities of being a business owner or problems with being an entrepreneur, these types of videos that have nothing to do with Facebook, but that are going to the audience that we're going after. And then I know a percentage of those people will have a specific problem with Facebook ads, and that's when I try and get them to buy my program. And also with that, when they're with the new membership program that we're launching, they're not just paying for the information anymore. They're paying for access to me. They're paying for coaching and consulting alongside the content that they're getting. I think we live in a world now where there's so much information, so much information out there that it's so hard to know who to listen to, what to believe, who to talk to. And I don't think courses that are purely information driven provide the transformation and the results that they really need to anymore. I think we now getting people to actually implement what they're learning and see results is what's key for any online program. So with our membership, for example, it's the training, the information, but with the added coaching. So that's what we're paying for. So people can consume content they want from me on YouTube, but they'll never get that one-to-one support or that group support that they'd get if they paid for it. What's
Awesome.
your thoughts,
I think
Dylan?
that's yeah, that's basically so I don't have like a program as such like right now. I've recently started offering like the way that I've monetized, I guess, my audience is through coaching. So for me, the difference is like I still share a ton of valuable stuff in my Facebook group on my YouTube. Like I'll do video walkthroughs and screen shares, etc. But when the kind of content that I'm monetizing is it's actually me being involved hands-on and then helping that person go away and actually do that and being there to support them as they're going through that process. So that's the way that I have things structured. But I think you like everything that you said. I would totally agree with 100%. Like I guess it like I almost feel like that's a small limiting belief that some people have is like, okay, if I'm gonna start doing a personal brand or start creating content, how like what do I give away for free and what do I charge for? Like I do hear that a lot, and I think like for me personally, I just try and give away as much value as I can for free because there's always going to be more that you can give to people. Like when someone comes into a program, like there's always more, like you said, with the one-to-one time with them, the coaching, but then also like just the more in-depth stuff. Like I can't do, for example, with when I'm working with people on coaching, like often they'll want help. Like I help people build out their like lead generation systems and personal brands so that they can start to impact their business revenue. And like a lot of the time we'll be structuring, building out like lead generation funnels for them. Like that's not something that I can do in a 10-minute video to share in a Facebook group or on YouTube, right? It's something that is going to take a lot more time and like one-to-one attention. So that's how I've been doing things. Does anybody else have any other questions? I know we've gone on for a while, so I'm fairly conscious of time. I think we should start to wrap things up. Let's see if anyone else has any other questions. But in the meantime, Gavin, like, is there anything? Where can people connect with you, or is there anything that you want to share with the people who are left on this webinar today?
I would say just head over to probably my Instagram is the place that I'm most active right now, and it's Mr. Gavin Bell. And from there, you can find all my videos, you can find my website, and you can slide into my DMs and get in touch if you have any questions or just want to say hello.
Awesome, cool. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you taking so much time and coming in and doing this webinar and supporting everybody here today. Like some of the stuff you shared has been really, really valuable, and it's been great listening to you. So thank you so much for the time. I really do appreciate it. Does anybody else have any other questions before I shut down the event? I'll give it like 10-15 seconds, and if nothing else comes in, then we'll wrap things up. So the next webinar as part of the Promo Republic Agency and Freelance Academy will be in a couple weeks' time. We'll update you all with that once everything is finalized, and you should all receive a copy of the recording of this webinar as well. So Gavin, I don't think we have any more questions. The chat seems to have gone quiet now. So thank you very much, and I will hit end event right now.
Amazing. Been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thanks, man.